Hello, you genital twisters. This is Pupunup, as usual, and this is my top 10 PS2 games. This is to follow up my top 10 PS1 games a couple weeks ago, and it's a very tough list to make. I think the PS2 games, of all the consoles that I've ever played, I played the most games on the PS2. I guess it is widely considered the best console ever made. Widely considered to have the best library, just a huge amount of different style games, so many JRPGs, fucking hell, it's so good. And I actually have 15 games for my top 10 list. So the first 5 is gonna be in a honorable mentions type thing. So yeah, let's just start. Honorable mentions. Number 15, I guess. Persona 3. Fucking holy shit. I love this game a lot. I played it very much near the end of the PlayStation 2 life cycle. And that is why I didn't play Persona 4, because by then I already got my PS3 personally, right? And but I really enjoyed Persona 3. It is my first, and to a certain extent my only Shin Megami Tensei game. And I would highly recommend. They've done a couple of remakes, didn't they, for the PS Vita or something? If you can get a copy of this, go and play it. It's good. It's a JRPG. Number 14, still in the honorable mentions, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Before MGS5, I would say it was my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. With MGS5, still kinda is my favorite game. MGS5 is pretty close up there though, but MGS3 was the best Metal Gear Solid game to be ever made. I can safely say a lot of people would agree with me on that. And yet it's not on my top 10 list. I really wanted it to be on my top 10 list, but I've always enjoyed the Metal Gear Solid games a lot, but not really I'm not a fanatic of them. So yeah, MGS3. And the next one is Madden 2001. Madden 2001 is my first Madden game, my first experience with American football. I did not know anything at all. I did not know the rules. I did not know what the fuck the game was about. But I learned through playing Madden, and I started loving the shit out of Madden. Madden had the best franchise mode, so much better than the shitty NBA franchise modes. The NBA 2K franchise modes were not too bad. But yeah, Madden 2001, it really got me into the Madden games, and also I started following the NFL because of that, and I started, enjoying watching football, American football. Was a fan of the Ravens and Ray Lewis. I really like grind out, running game, good defense type team. But yeah, Madden 2001. Fucking good game. And I played a few years after that. I continued playing. I haven't played a Madden game for a long time. I really wish I had a PS4 or something to play it. And the next one, this is the second last game in our honorable mentions, Amplitude. Now, Amplitude is a rhythm game, and it was my first rhythm game. I can safely say it was my first rhythm game. Had a lot of really cool songs, very punk rock type of songs. Love it. It's, if you find a copy, fucking buy it. Just buy it. The next game, this one I really thought very hard. It almost made it to my top 10 because I love it so much. It's Disaster Report. Disaster Report is a third-person adventure style game where you have to survive an earthquake that happened in Japan somewhere, and it is a survival game. You have to find water and drink water. I can't remember if you have to eat. I think you do. I'm not too sure. Bloody good game. You play a reporter. You have to collect a lot of clues and stuff. You have to help other survivors. There's a really cool story behind it all. And they also made a sequel called Raw Danger. Sounds very sexual. Raw Danger, I did not play that one. I actually did not know it existed until after I stopped playing my PS2. And they also cancelled a game that was supposed to come out on the PS3. The reason they canceled is because an earthquake happened, and they thought it was insensitive to profit off of a like a thing that destroys people's lives just happening recently, because they were very, very close to releasing it. I think it went gold already. I'm not too sure, but the game was pretty much done, and they just said nope, we're not gonna release it because it was insensitive. Now, I mean, a lot of respect to those guys to be able to do that. Take a lot of balls to just like take in all the financial losses like that, but I don't know, maybe they should have just released the game, and then maybe half the profits could have gone to helping rebuild or something. I don't know, I could have seen some good coming out of it, but Japanese culture maybe, I don't know. So yes, that is my first 5 honorable mentions. Because the PS2 has just so many games, I couldn't make up my mind. And yeah, let's move on to the top 10 list for my favorite PS2 games of all time. Number 10, WWE Smackdown, Here Comes the Pain. Not my first wrestling game. I played quite a few wrestling games, but it was certainly my favorite because it was very fast paced. It had a lot of wrestlers. It was about near the peak of my my enjoyment with wrestling. I was a fan of wrestling back then during the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Attitude Era, and I think this one came out in 2003. This game came out in 2003, so they had Brock Lesnar on the cover. Fucking good game, very fast paced. The wrestlers all felt good. I really loved the career mode. Career mode was fucking awesome, and that is why I can't enjoy any of the newer wrestling games now. Even though it was made by the same people, Here Comes the Pain and the latest WWE 2K16 is made by the same people, I think. Because the studio is Yuke's that is creating it. It's still Yuke's. I'm not sure if it's the same actual people working on it, but it just felt so clunky compared to a game that came out like 12 years ago. So, yeah, they these days they are going for that super realistic feel, and it's wrestling. I really don't understand why. Here Comes the Pain. Fucking good wrestling game. I would say it's the best that I've played. Number 9, Resident Evil 4. The only Resident Evil game that I managed to finish, and technically the only one I played, because the others I remember there was one time I don't know, I can't remember how old. I was really young, and I've never liked horror movies. I've never liked horror games. I never liked anything to do with horror. And I fucking remember this scene so clearly. I'm not sure. I think it's from Resident Evil 2, or maybe 1. Could be 1. Should be 1. You open the door, and then the fucking zombie was there eating someone, and then he turned around and I was like, I couldn't sleep for at least 2 weeks. Fuck that shit. But Resident Evil 4, I enjoyed. It was quite scary for me. I know a lot of people, they're not really scared with like the horror stuff, but I'm a pussy, and I did actually enjoy Resident Evil 4 a lot. Maybe because of the new controls that they tried out with the over the shoulder stuff, but I really, really enjoyed that game. So yes, I would say the best Resident Evil. I think a lot of people think that it is the best Resident Evil ever made. So go check it out if you can find a copy. That's Resident Evil 4 at number 9. Number 8, Stibo Chronicles. Now, I'm not sure if this is called something else in Europe. I'm looking at it right now. No, it's not. It's Stibo Chronicles in Europe as well, I think. In Japan, it was called Ponkotsu Roman Daikatsukeki Bumpy Truck. So it was released in 2005. It's an action-adventure RPG. Developed and published by Irem Software Engineering in Japan for the PlayStation 2. Published by Atlas in North America. It's a you play a boy, and you pilot steam-powered mechs. That's like the main combat stuff, and it's like it's like a sandbox RPG. It's a very, very unique game. There's like dating elements in it. There's a lot of story. There's also like a bunch of mini games, and it's a game that I really cannot explain with words. I really don't know how, but it is one of the games that I really wished they would have made a sequel for. It was actually announced and shown at the 2006 Tokyo Game Show, Bumpy Trot 2. It was officially cancelled 5 years later in 2011, but 2 spin-off titles were released: Stibo Chronicles Battle Tournament for the PSP and Blocks Club with Bumpy Trot for the PS2, and then ported to the PSP. It's an action adventure sandbox. If you like quirky Japanese games, this is one of the best I've ever played, and it's just I really need to find the ROM to play this again because all my PS2 shit is long gone. But really, if you like quirky Japanese like adventure and RPGs, this is a must play. It's a must play. Steamboat Chronicles at number 8. Number 7 is a game that I recently finished actually on the PS2 emulator, Suikoden Tree. It's a RPG developed and published by Konami. Suikoden is a Konami IP, and just another one that is just gonna go down the drain. You can probably relive it as a pachinko machine somewhere, I'm guessing. Maybe not now, maybe later. But Suikoden Tree is obviously the sequel to Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2 is generally considered the best Suikoden game. Now, Suikoden is one of the better JRPGs I've ever played. Suikoden Tree. The few mechanics, a few cool mechanics is one, you get to recruit 108 characters. That's a lot of characters because it's based off a Chinese novel, something like Stars of Destiny, 108 Stars of Destiny, where there are like 108 heroes and stuff like that. So you can recruit 108 characters. Not all of them you can bring into battle. Most of them you can, but some of them they can open shops. They have they help you in a certain way if they're not brought into battle. Because you also get like a stronghold. In all of the games you get like a stronghold, and then these characters you recruit will open up like a weapon shop or like to teach you skills, stuff like that. And Suikoden Tree had a 2x3 kind of grid for battle. So you basically there's 3 columns. You can put 2 characters in each column, and depending on how you arrange them, that you can do some combos and stuff like that. And then there's like runes for magic, and the story is pretty good. You get to see a story from 3 perspectives, and you get to choose who's like the hero of the story. It's a really cool game. I really like the story as well. The story is quite there's quite a lot of like political stuff and racial stuff, and it's like about war. It's actually pretty matured for a JRPG. One of the best JRPGs I've ever played. Go and fucking play this game if you like JRPGs. It's a must. Suikoden Tree at number 7. Number 6, Okami. Now, Okami is an action adventure where you play the goddess or god of the sun, Amaterasu, which is also a wolf. And it was also released on the Wii like 2 years after it released on the PS2. I'm pretty sure it's 2 years after. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2 years after. And it's a very beautiful cel-shaded action adventure game. Has some RPG elements in it, but the story is really cool. The environments are really cool. It has that cel-shaded like hand-drawn like watercolor look to it. It's really beautiful, and because of that, if you play it now, it still looks good. So Amaterasu gets, she can attack, and I'm pretty sure she's a goddess, so I'm gonna use she. She can attack, and there's quite a few things that she can do, but the main like mechanic is you can stop time, and when you stop time, the screen will turn into like a canvas, like those scroll kind of canvas, and then you get to use a brush, and then you can like put on like gestures so that you can summon magic. So take for instance, you need to cut something, so you pause time, you do a slash, and it will cut it in that way, and it's really really cool. And it's one of the best games on the PS2. Came out pretty late in the life cycle, but if you find a copy of it, or if you just want to play a ROM, just do it. It's fucking beautiful. It's a great game. Okami at number 6. Number 5, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, I really loved San Andreas as well. I thought it was a really good game, even though it had that kind of a lot of people that didn't really like the RPG mechanics where you can get fit or fat or whatever. I really like San Andreas. I would say it is pretty close to somewhere around number 5 as well. But if I had to choose one GTA game, it would be Vice City, because it is my favorite GTA game of all time. I would say it's just because it's during the 80s and it has like a Scarface influence on it and stuff like that. It was so cool to play a game that's like based in 80s Miami, and then you get to drive around in a car listening to super cool 80s oldies and shooting people, and you know what you can do in GTA games. I don't have to tell you much, but I really love it because of the setting. GTA Vice City is my favorite Grand Theft Auto game of all time. So yes, GTA Vice City at number 5. Number 4, Shadow of the Colossus. Created by Team Ico. I would say Ico. Ico is a very American way of saying things. Ico. So Team Ico is very popular for creating a game called Ico. And the second game is Shadow of the Colossus. You should know them because they are also the one that is creating The Last Guardian, which is the one that has been in development hell since like 2007, 2008, 9 maybe, I don't know. But Shadow of the Colossus is an action adventure, sort of a bit of RPG, but mostly action adventure. So you play a boy, and the boy has a horse, and you go around just fighting boss fights, 16 of them, and you're doing that because you want to resurrect a princess of some sort, and all the story is told to you in a language that you do not understand. If I'm not mistaken, when they are talking that language, the translation at the bottom is also something you do not understand. I'm pretty sure, which I thought it was a really nice touch. So it's pretty much, the game is pretty much telling you the story without any spoken words, and just through the emotions and just through the gameplay. It's such a beautiful game, and it was actually my number 6. My Okami was my number 4, but then I thought about it longer, and I felt Shadow of the Colossus impacted me more. Shadow of the Colossus is a fucking good game, and some of the bosses are fucking terrifying, especially that freaking fish thing in the water, because I hate open water. And that fish thing, when you first jump down into the lake, he will swim around you, and he's fucking huge. God damn, the bosses in this game are really well designed, and a lot of people to this day are still hacking into the game to see if there's a 17th Colossi, right? Colossi is the singular, right? And it's when people are doing that for a game after so many years, they're still looking for secrets. It's because it's a fucking good game, and it's because it has impacted a lot of people. So if you've never played it, I really highly suggest you go and play it. Just fucking find a ROM or something. It was re-released on the PS3. It was I believe it was it's a HD version as well. I'm not sure if you can get those on the PS4, but quite a few ways to get it. No excuse to not playing it. Bloody good game. One of the best. I would consider it one of the best games ever made. It is pretty close up there. So yes, Shadow of the Colossus at number 4. Number 3, Final Fantasy X. You know I love my JRPGs, and Final Fantasy X is, I would say, the best Final Fantasy that I've played. Even though my favorite is 8, I would say Final Fantasy X is the best Final Fantasy I've played. And I also really enjoyed Final Fantasy X 2. And I have it both on Steam. So I can't wait to find time to finally get back into it. FF10, Square Enix, blah blah blah. It's I really liked the story. Was actually pretty cool. The voice acting was really shit, but the music is beautiful as usual in Final Fantasy games. And I really like the progression system. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a board where you get when you level up, you get to choose like where you're going, so you can choose how to build your character sort of. But eventually, if you grind enough, you pretty much can build everything, and your character becomes like fucking OP, and that's a really cool feeling actually. But Final Fantasy X, one of the best Final Fantasies ever made, I would say. Yes, it's my number 3. Number 2, the Ratchet and Clank series. I cannot choose any of the game. I have to put the entire series at my number 2. So it's Ratchet and Clank, the 2002 release. There's a Ratchet and Clank Going Commando that was released in 2003. Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal released in 2004, and Ratchet Deadlocked in 2005. So it was a yearly release, I guess. And they're action platformers. You play a what is he supposed to be? A wombat, right? I can't remember what it's supposed to be. It's like some sort of animal. So Ratchet and Clank is the robot on his back, where he can turn into, he can give you a jumping boost, he can give you like a gyro helicopter thing so that you can glide, and he can go into tight spaces. So he's basically an action platformer. Quite Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper were like the other two Sony action platformers, but my favorite was Ratchet and Clank. A lot of super cool guns. It was really funny. I really like the characters, and it's one of my favorite franchises of all time. Just a spoiler, my top 10 PS3 games will have a Ratchet and Clank game. So yes, I really love Ratchet and Clank, and that is why I'm super bummed out that I don't have a PS4 and I cannot play the Ratchet and Clank re-release. But I don't know how to feel about playing a re-release. I would prefer to have a new game. Anyways, if you like action platformers, go and fucking find this game. It was available for the PS2. It was re-released as a HD version for the PS3, and from the wiki here, it also says Vita. So I'm not sure if it's for all. Looks like it's for all, except for Deadlock. Deadlock doesn't have a Vita version, but it does have the PS3 HD version. I would say the weakest of all of them is Ratchet Deadlock. I said Deadlock again. Deadlocked. If I remember correctly, I remember Deadlock being just a arena. There's like very little like exploring and platforming. It's mostly like arena fights and a lot of fighting. So I would say it's like the weakest of all three of them. But if you get a chance to play any of them or all, do it. Fucking do it. It's bloody good. It's fucking bloody good. The Ratchet and Clank series for the PS2 is my number 2. And my number 1 favorite PS2 game of all fucking time, I love it so much that I finished it a few times, is Dark Cloud 2, also known as Dark Chronicle. It's developed by Level 5, published by Sony, and it recently got re-released for the PS4 as a HD version, which was pretty fucking cool, and it's really cheap, $15 I remember correctly. So what is Dark Cloud 2? It's a sequel, obviously, because there's the 2 in the name. Dark Cloud 1 had a lot of really cool ideas, but the execution was not really there. But Dark Cloud 2 really executed it all very well. And one thing is, it has a cel-shaded art style, like Okami. I think Okami is much better looking. It has a slightly different cel-shaded look to it. So I would say it stands the test of time. If you play it today, it doesn't look very bad. That's why I love cel-shaded games so much. Just looks super cool. And it's an action dungeon crawler JRPG. It's basically it. with a really cool like time traveling story. You get to use two characters. One is a boy, like an engineer, and he has a few different abilities of his own. And then he has like a mech, steam powered mech that he can use in the battles. And the girl has a sword, and she can cast magic. And there's like each weapon can level up, and then you can combine stuff and then to make more stuff. And then the boy also has the camera, so you take pictures of things and then you get more ideas to invent new stuff. And there's also fishing, and there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. There's a lot of mini games. There's also a very huge part of it is city building. So basically the bad guy is like taking all this like buildings from towns and villages and shit. So it's your job to go and build it, right? So you go into the dungeons, you finish dungeon, and then you get a piece, and then you rebuild the city, the town, small like villages and towns. You build the thing back. You can choose to put what where, and certain buildings has a importance to the story. So let's say you build. I'm trying to remember a scenario that, because it also has something to do with the time traveling. So let's say you build something in the present time here, right? If you go into the future, that thing might be affected, so it might give you access to a new area, something like that. Let's say it's a tree and it grows in the future, and then you get to walk up the tree and then get to a new area, that kind of thing. So it's like really cool. It's a fucking good game. Oh man, it's so good. It is the number one game that I wish they made a sequel for. Seriously, it's so good. That's why Level 5 is one of my favorite developers, period. They make so many good games. And yeah, Dark Cloud 2 is my number one PS2 game of all time. Thank you very much for watching my top 10 PS2 games. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite PS2 games, or what are some of the PS2 games that you've wanted to play but just didn't have the chance to play. Let me know what you think about my list. Tell me if I'm wrong, I guess, because opinions can be wrong apparently. And yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening. The next list will be a top 10 PS3 game list. I'm not sure if that's gonna go up next week or the week after that. So it depends on my schedule. So yes, thank you very much for watching and listening and subscribing, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.